You don't plan revenge. It just happens. One moment, you're staring at a red chart, your trade bleeding out like a wound you can't close. And then, in the next breath, something dark takes over. Logic fades. The voice that once said, "Follow your plan," now whispers, "Get it back." That's how revenge trading begins. It's not a strategy. It's a psychological rebellion. A silent scream from the ego saying, "I can't lose like this. Not like this." You click again. You size up. You chase the candle as if punishing the market for humiliating you. But here's the truth, and I want you to feel this deep in your chest. You're not punishing the market. You're punishing yourself. And the market doesn't even notice. Before we go deeper, hit like if you've ever felt that burning urge to get it back after a loss. It's not weakness, it's human. Comment below with one word that describes how it feels when that rage hits. Because in this video, we're not pretending it doesn't happen. We're dissecting it. This isn't another trading psychology lecture. This is a confession from every trader who's been there, stared into that red abyss, and thought, "No, I'll make the market pay." But the promise of this story is simple. By the end, you'll understand why revenge trading isn't just a trading error, it's a psychological cry for identity control, and how the traders who master it become unshakable. So let's step into the chaos. Picture this. It's late. The room glows blue from your monitor. Your eyes sting. You've just taken a brutal hit, not just money, but pride. You lean back, your pulse loud in your ears. You can almost feel the market mocking you. You reopen your chart. You zoom in. You tell yourself you're analyzing, but really you're hunting. That flicker of red? You see it as revenge bait. That green candle? You see redemption. And then click. The moment your finger hits buy, you already know it's not a trade. It's a plea. You're not trading your edge. You're trading your anger. Because revenge trading is never about the setup. It's about the story your ego is trying to rewrite. In your head, the loss isn't just numbers, it's betrayal. You followed the rules, you played the game, and the market still punished you. So now you decide to flip the script. You want to win, not for profit, but for justice. That's the trap. Because the market doesn't deal in justice. It deals in probability. And the moment your emotions start chasing fairness, your discipline begins dying. Here's what makes revenge trading so dangerous. It feels like taking your power back, but it's actually giving it away. You think you're fighting the market, but what you're really fighting is yourself. Your inability to sit with loss, with shame, with helplessness. That's the psychological paradox. Every trader talks about risk management, strategy, setups, but very few talk about the emotional violence that happens inside your head after a big loss. Revenge trading is that violence turned outward. It's your ego bleeding pride, trying to prove to itself that it still matters. But here's the irony. The more you chase that validation, the deeper you dig your own hole. Every "I'll make it back" click widens the emotional wound. Because beneath every revenge trade lies the same hidden belief. If I can just win this one, I'll be okay again. But you won't. Not until you face what that loss actually triggered inside you. That's where we're heading. Because to explain revenge trading, you can't just analyze behavior. You have to unravel the human beneath it. And that's where Act 2 begins. We're going to step into the mind of a trader right at the moment before the spiral, when pain turns into defiance, and defiance turns into destruction. You'll see why even the smartest traders fall for it, and why no amount of technical skill can save you from a mind at war with itself. So stay locked in. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just how revenge trading works, but why it hijacks your entire sense of self. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Before we dive deeper, do this for yourself. Hit subscribe, not for algorithms, but because every video here is built to help you trade like a human who's finally stopped lying to themselves. Now, let's enter Act 2, the psychological unraveling. You think revenge trading starts with anger. But it doesn't. It starts with pain, quiet, raw, unfiltered pain. The kind that seeps in when the screen goes still and you realize the number flashing before you isn't just a number. It's proof. Proof that you failed. That you weren't fast enough, smart enough, patient enough. And that pain, that tiny crack in your identity, is where the revenge begins. Because trading isn't just about money. It's about self-image. Every chart, every setup, every execution, it's tied to how you see yourself in the mirror. When you win, you're sharp. You're powerful. You're in sync with chaos. But when you lose, especially when it's public or when you knew better, it hits the deepest wound a human can have, the fear of being powerless. That's the root of revenge trading. You're not angry at the market. You're angry at your own helplessness. And so your mind, desperate to restore control, creates an illusion. It whispers, "You can fix this. Just one more trade. One more click. One more push." You're not trying to make money anymore. You're trying to erase the feeling of being small. Let me tell you something about the brain. When you take a loss, your emotional circuitry lights up in the same way it would if you were being physically attacked. Your amygdala, the primal part of your brain, floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Fight or flight. But there's no lion in the room. Just a chart. Just pixels and numbers. And yet your body reacts as if you're in danger. So what do? You fight. You fight the only enemy you can see, the market. And that's where rationality dies. Because when you're in fight mode, you don't analyze probability. You chase survival. You don't plan the next trade, you react to the previous one. And the market doesn't care. It keeps moving. Indifferent. Unbothered. Perfectly designed to expose every emotional flaw you've never healed. Revenge trading is the mind's way of screaming, "I refuse to be powerless." But here's the truth. That scream is exactly what makes you powerless. Because real power in trading comes from surrender. From being able to say, "I lost. And I accept it." That's not weakness. That's mastery. But the ego doesn't want mastery. It wants control. It wants to rewrite the story, to erase humiliation, to prove it's still the hero. So you jump back in. You increase your size. You double down. You tell yourself this time will be different. But deep down, you know it's not a trade anymore. It's therapy gone wrong. Let's get brutally honest. Revenge trading isn't about charts. It's about self-worth. You built your identity on being the guy who wins. The one who reads the market right. The one who's smarter than the average crowd. So when you lose, especially after doing everything right, your ego doesn't just take a hit. It collapses. It's not, "I lost money." It's, "Maybe I'm not who I thought I was." And the human brain will do anything, to avoid that realization. So it makes you believe that if you just take one more shot, you can fix not only your P&L, but your identity. That's why the revenge trade always feels so seductive. It's not the setup, it's the story. The comeback fantasy. The cinematic redemption arc where you go from disaster to triumph in one glorious trade. But the markets don't care about your redemption arc. They're not a movie. They're a mirror. They show you exactly who you are when control slips away. Here's where it gets darker. When you hit that revenge trade and it wins, even once, you're doomed. Because now your brain associates that emotional high with relief. You didn't just make money, you made pain go away. So the next time you lose, your brain remembers that shortcut. You're not chasing profits anymore. You're chasing emotional anesthesia. That's how addiction begins. Not to trading, but to the feeling of fixing yourself through risk. That's why so many traders spiral. They're not blowing up because they're stupid. They're blowing up because they're using the market as a mirror for emotional wounds they never dealt with. Revenge trading is emotional alchemy gone wrong. You try to turn shame into pride, fear into control, pain into validation. But the more you fight, the tighter the market's grip becomes. It's like quicksand. The more you thrash, the deeper you sink. And yet, every trader has to face this moment. Every single one. The difference between the ones who survive and the ones who vanish isn't intelligence. It's awareness. The survivors learn to spot the shift, that precise second when the trade stops being strategic and becomes emotional. They see the trigger, the heartbeat change, the jaw tension, the hand that clicks before the brain approves. They pause. They breathe. Because they know every revenge trade starts with a narrative, not a signal. In the next act, the narrative is exposed. The secret story every trader tells themselves in the heat of revenge. It's peeled apart, not with theory, but with brutal truth, so the transformation becomes visible. Millionaire traders transform that urge into discipline. They don't suppress emotion. They harness it. By the end of the next act, the truth of how to flip revenge into recovery is revealed, not by force, but by psychological transmutation. Hit like if this truth hits home. Drop a comment and tell the one trade that taught the danger of revenge. Now, take a breath, because in Act 3, the payoff begins, the transformation. Revenge trading doesn't destroy traders because of bad luck. It destroys them because it exposes the truth about what they're really trading for. Most traders think they're trading to make money. They're not. They're trading to feel something. Control, power, redemption, validation. The chart just happens to be the battlefield where those emotions come to fight. Every great trader has faced this war. The difference is, they learned how to disarm their emotions without killing their drive. They didn't suppress their anger. They decoded it. Because anger in trading isn't random. It's a signal that expectations were violated, that the illusion of control cracked. The market didn't betray them. Their expectations did. The market has no memory, no conscience, no bias. It doesn't care if you win or lose. But the brain craves narrative. It wants every loss to mean something. It wants every win to validate worth. So when loss comes, the brain panics. It can't comprehend randomness. It searches for a villain. And the easiest villain to blame is the market itself. That's where the millionaire mindset diverges from the amateur. The average trader says, "The market screwed me." The elite trader says, "My expectation was wrong." That difference, that tiny shift from blame to ownership, is the psychological evolution that separates survival from destruction. Because once you own your loss, you strip it of its power. Revenge trading is a defense mechanism, a way the mind tries to reclaim certainty in an uncertain environment. But in truth, it's certainty itself that destroys you. Millionaire traders don't crave certainty. They crave clarity. Certainty says, "I know what's going to happen." Clarity says, "I know how I'll respond no matter what happens." That's power. That's emotional mastery. The transformation begins here. Imagine taking a devastating loss, the kind that shakes your core. Your hands tremble. The urge rises to take another trade, not because the setup's there, but because the silence is unbearable. In that moment, the average trader acts. The master observes. The difference lies in awareness of the urge itself. Millionaire traders understand something paradoxical. The moment you feel that revenge impulse is the exact moment to do nothing. Because that urge isn't a trading signal, it's an emotional flare. It's the nervous system crying out for control. And the only way to reclaim control is to resist the illusion of it. They've trained their minds to interpret emotion as data. Anger means, "My expectations were misaligned." Fear means, "I'm overleveraged." Greed means, "I've stopped following my edge." They translate emotion into information. Because once emotion is labeled, it separates from identity. And that separation, that split second of observation, is where discipline lives. Every revenge trade begins with emotional fusion. The trader and the feeling become one. The thought, "I need to get it back," feels like truth, not impulse. But millionaire traders maintain psychological distance. They can watch the fire burn without touching it. They still feel anger. They still feel pain. But they don't let those emotions drive action. They let them inform understanding. This is the difference between emotional suppression and emotional mastery. Suppression says, "Don't feel angry." Mastery says, "I feel angry, and I know what that means." That's the art. When revenge trading ends, it's not just about avoiding bad trades. It's about rebuilding the relationship with uncertainty. Because that's the real addiction, not to risk, not to wins, but to certainty. The need to know. The need to predict. The need to feel in control of something uncontrollable. But the market is chaos, built to humble the human need for control. Millionaire traders don't try to dominate that chaos. They dance with it. They structure systems, define risk, and then let go, fully aware that loss isn't punishment, it's feedback. They've reprogrammed their emotional circuitry to interpret drawdown not as failure, but as data for adaptation. The real secret? Millionaire traders lose more often than most think. They just don't lose psychologically. Because they don't measure worth by a single outcome. They measure it by how aligned their actions remain with their process. Every loss is absorbed into the system, not personal, not emotional, not moral. That's the power of detachment. It's not coldness. It's precision. They've learned that emotional chaos has only one cure: structure, rules, rituals, self-awareness. That's their armor. The real transformation, the real payoff, isn't how to stop revenge trading. It's how to transmute emotional energy into clarity, patience, and power. The same fire that drives traders to chase the market can be redirected into discipline, presence, mastery. Emotions don't need to be killed. They need to be retrained. That's how millionaire traders turn chaos into control. Not by winning every trade, but by mastering every reaction. Stay with this truth. Because in Act 4, everything closes with the human call to action, the reckoning, where all psychology becomes personal again, where it comes back to the human behind the chart. Revenge trading doesn't just happen on charts. It happens in life. Every time pain is undone instead of understood. Every time the feeling is fixed instead of faced. Every time movement is confused with progress. The market exposes the part that hates stillness. Because stillness means facing the truth. Control is an illusion. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to control everything is the exact moment you begin to master yourself. That's what separates the trader who survives from the one who self-destructs. It's not the system. It's not the indicator. It's the capacity to sit with loss without letting it define you. Revenge trading isn't a trading mistake. It's an identity crisis. When self-worth is built around winning, a loss doesn't just hurt the account, it shakes the foundation. But the truth must burn in. You are not your P&L. You're not your last trade. You're not your drawdown. You're not the mistakes made in rage or the profits fumbled in fear. You're human, learning, recalibrating, evolving through chaos. The market is just the mirror showing who you are when control disappears. Every loss carries potential, not to destroy, but to reveal. Loss will come again. Slip-ups will happen. Impulse will rise. And that's okay. Mastery isn't the absence of impulse. It's recognizing the impulse and choosing not to obey it. Every time a revenge trade is resisted, capital is protected and discipline rebuilt. The brain rewires to prioritize long-term strength over short-term relief. Millionaire traders feel the fire and don't let it burn the house down. They turn it into fuel. The opposite of revenge trading isn't calmness. It's ownership. Ownership kills the victim story. The moment "the market screwed me" turns into "I didn't adapt fast enough," power returns. Not the forced power of a win, but the unshakable power that no loss can break unless allowed. That's psychological freedom, the state where traders become unshaken. Not perfect, but resilient. Because they recover faster than they fall. The real call to action is identity. The next time a loss hits, pause. When that voice says, "Get it back," answer with truth, "No, I'll get myself back first." Because you can't recover your account until you recover your mind. Take a step back. Review the chart without emotion. Feel the sting but don't obey it. Turn pain into pattern recognition. Turn frustration into patience. Turn impulse into data. That's how you win, not by avenging a loss, but by mastering your response to it. Think back to the last time a position blew up out of anger. What were you really fighting? The market or your reflection? Be brutally honest. That's where healing starts. Price and volatility can't be controlled, but the story told about them can. That's where all power lies. Not in prediction, but in perception. Trading isn't about conquering the market. It's about conquering the part of you that still needs to. When the need to win dies, clarity begins. When the need for validation fades, mastery starts. And when revenge fades, emotional sovereignty is built, the one edge no system can replace. That's the edge every millionaire trader guards like gold. Not a secret indicator. Not insider information. Just complete ownership of self. So stand up. Take a breath. Look at the losses, look at the fear, and decide. This will not define me. I will define myself. The market will keep moving. It will test. It will tempt. But armed with awareness, discipline, and self-respect, the trader will no longer react. They will respond. They will lead. And that is how revenge trading dies forever. If this message hits home, claim it, not for the algorithm, but as a declaration, I choose ownership. Because the moment you speak it, you start to live it. Every story told here exists to do one thing: make you emotionally untouchable in a world that thrives on chaos. This is Revenge Trading Explained. The truth, not the theory. And now, it's your move.